All right, we're live.
Well, folks, for gun owners who've been fighting for what's been now a year since Joe Biden has been doddering around the White House trying to pass gun control, done a pretty good job of shutting most of his stuff down. But in case you missed your email we put out a couple of minutes ago, or some of our videos from last night, we now have a breaking gun control bill to talk to you about today. And this one, folks, unlike many of the ones we've seen in D.C. for the last couple of months, this one has the full support of elements of the Republican Senate conference. This bill is going to be very, very dangerous, and it could be very hard to stop. We're going to break that bill down today in today's video update. So get signed in, guys. Tell us where you're watching from and post your location in the comment section. This is going to make your blood boil. Then again, a lot of our video updates make your blood boil. You know, it's just never a surprise to see Chuck Schumer and Pelosi try to crush our gun rights. That never surprises anybody. But when they have help from Republicans like phony Joni Ernst from our home state of Iowa, it makes our blood boil. So get signed in, guys. There's going to be a big video update for you coming really, really quick.
Well, I think everybody's known this whole time that the big stopping point for gun control in DC is the fact we have a 50-50 vote in the Senate. That's the big thing, right? If we can make sure that not a single Republican wavers and supports gun control, Biden's agenda, and the rest of this stuff, we can essentially stop all of the major pieces of legislation, the assault weapons ban, red flag gun confiscations, national gun registration, the whole thing. But what we're talking about here right now is the fact that at least one, right out of the gate here, Joni Ernst.
And Markowski from Alaska, Lisa Markowski.
We have two Republican senators are now sponsoring a bill, with Dianne Feinstein. With Dianne Feinstein. If this thing gains ground, if this has all the traction it needs, they've got the votes they need to ram through gun control through the U.S. Senate. And that's why Moms Demand Action, everybody else is out there right now saying, thank you. Oh, thank you so much to Murkowski. Thank you so much, Senator Joni Ernst, for this common sense gun control that you're going to help us pass in January. So this is the danger we're facing right now.
And for those who are just new watching this video, you might not know, but probably most of you do know, the four of us are brothers, and we all grew up in Northwest Iowa. We all fight for gun rights in state capitals across the country, but Iowa is home to all four of us, and we have worked for almost 15 years to make Iowa one of the shining examples of pro-gun states in America. And so to see Joni Ernst, our senator, come out here and lead the charge on this bill is absolutely insufferably arrogant in the highest degree. So we're going to break down this bill, but just before we do that, just remember what Ben said. This has the support of the Republican conference. This is going to be a major threat. You know, Chris, we discussed this a lot in the past. These guys have always wanted to pass an AW ban, banning AR-15s, enacting a national gun registry, everything else. But they'll take this if they can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. They're always looking. One of the things that really bothers me about this is that you've got Chuck Schumer, you've got all these people, the Dick Durbin, all these people on the left, Chris Murphy right now, on the wake of the 9th anniversary of Newtown. You have all these people putting maximum pressure via the media, via every channel that they've got. They're saying, this is ridiculous. We need action on this gun control. We need to move these bills. And then along comes somebody like Joni Ernst and saying, yeah, I'm willing to do some of this gun control over here. It gives it increases the amount of leverage that the Democrats have to then say, well, look, we have a bipartisan gun control bill here, and yet it's this filibuster. We can't go forward right now because we've got some of these people who are blocking this bipartisan bill. We need to end the filibuster. Like, they build on top of each and every issue that they've got. And anytime you have somebody like Joni Ernst, who I used to sit right behind her on the Iowa Senate floor, not a very smart woman. In fact, Tucker Carlson talked a lot about that the other day, how really stupid that Joni Ernst can be. But when you sit down and make these deals at these critical junctures, like we're in right now, where all of a sudden they're talking about court packing again, they're talking about ending the filibuster, and now you give leverage to them You give legitimacy to their concerns, because now they can say not only is it the Democrats, but it's Republicans who want to pass this kind of gun control stuff. I mean, that's why we're so upset. That's why we're asking everybody to take action after you watch this video today, because stuff like this cannot be tolerated. Compromising cannot be tolerated by Republicans in 2021 with those Democrats. They're not 1950s Democrats. They're 2021 Democrats.
Well, these people are very foolish. You know, Joni Ernst, Murkowski. These people are very foolish and very stupid. I mean, this is the era of Joe Biden. Joe Biden's in there. There's never been an easier time to not support gun control than right now in 2021. Gun control was a losing issue. It's always been a losing issue in the elections. If you're a Democrat pushing major gun control, especially in swing districts, you'll get your butt handed to you in the elections by gun owners every single time. And Joni Ernst won her election pretty well in Iowa. I think it was something like 6 points. She won just fine in 2020. There's no reason to cave now under a Joe Biden presidency and under a Nancy Pelosi House and a Chuck Schumer Senate. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever to support this kind of legislation right now. Unless, do these people believe in this? Are these Republicans who do people like Joni Ernst firmly believe in this type of legislation that Dianne Feinstein is trying to look out for the American people?
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty stupid thing to me.
All right, we have the crowd build up here. A lot of people are starting to ask this question. Let's have some details about the bill that Joni Ernst is working on with Dianne Feinstein. Aaron, why don't you jump into it?
Yeah, we got details, and we also have names. People are saying, what Republicans? Well, here's the press release that came out last night. I'll hold up here the screen. Maybe you can blow up my screen, Chris, for a moment. My camera will focus. Feinstein, Ernst, Durbin, and Murkowski. So we already have these two Republicans on board on this bill. Two Republicans that we know of who are leading the co-sponsor push on this bill. What this is the Violence Against Women Act. This has been talked about for years, ever since Joe Biden first passed this when he was a senator back in the 90s under President Bill Clinton. It's been a gun control thing from the radical left since it was first passed in the 1990s. They're trying to reauthorize it again now. And if you've heard of a red flag gun seizure bill, this is like red flag laws on steroids, because the whole goal of red flags, right? The whole goal is to take guns away from people who are not convicted of felony crimes. Yeah. That's what this bill does. The first thing it does is it changes the definitions on what types of misdemeanors can have someone added to the prohibited persons database. When you're on that database, you'll never be able to buy a gun ever again the rest of your life. So they're adding misdemeanor crimes to that list. That's the first thing. And just doing that alone could ensnare millions of gun owners. And not to mention, once they can add one more thing to that list of misdemeanors, it'll be no time at all. We're going to have 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 more misdemeanors added to that list. That's number one. That's just by itself. But number two is perhaps even more devious, way more devious. This bill, and again, Joni Ernst and Lisa Murkowski, Republicans, are backing this. This bill is going to require the FBI via the NICS system to send an incident report to local law enforcement every time there is a NICS denial of a firearm. What that means, if you buy guns at a gun show, gun store, if you don't buy them privately, if you get denied, they're going to send an alert to local law enforcement, give your name, give your address, and tell law enforcement to go and investigate you for criminal violations. Now, they're going to say, well, don't you want us to investigate criminals? Yeah, of course we do. But the reality, as everybody knows, is that 94% of NICS denials have been proven to be false positives. Maybe you share a birthday with someone who's prohibited. Maybe you share a similar street name or your last name. Happens all the time. 94% of NICS denials are false positives. But under this bill, they're going to weaponize local law enforcement and say, go out to his house and launch a criminal investigation and try to ensnare him in criminal charges, even though we know 94% are false positive. This will this will ensnare tons of gun owners across the country. It's wicked stuff. The next point,
So again, I mean, even that in and of itself, and we're going through things here right and left that are like catastrophic to due process in America, to jurisprudence in America. Like we are absolutely opposed at every single level to depriving somebody of their Second Amendment rights without the conviction of a violent felony. You shouldn't lose your gun rights in America for any other reason than that. They're trying to not only push it down to nonviolent felons, which already I think is the case, but they're going to punch way below that to misdemeanor convictions. That is like a foundation shattering departure from American jurisprudence that makes America the envy of the entire world.
Yep.
And then what was the last one you just read off, Aaron?
How about the next fake denials, false denials?
Yeah, I mean, so since over 90% of NICS denials are false positives by definition, when these people come out to start prosecuting them, in and of itself is a form of red flag law. Now, you have to prove at your own expense, your own legal representation, all these different things, that you're not what they say you are. No burden of proof for them to come to you with the case to make the case. No. Now, unless you can prove that you're not this person, you're in the thick of it. Now you have to defend yourself. You're guilty unless you can prove your own innocence. So somebody just a few minutes ago had said a really stupid comment. I wanted to back up and address it for just a second. And Larry Gotch says, you guys influence a lot of people, and unfortunately, your political bias is showing. You sound like the editorials in the Rifleman from the NRA. Protecting our Second Amendment rights is important, but it can be done without stirring the pot. Larry, you're a fool. You're a fool if you think that these very basic tenets of American government are okay to be tampered with. I mean, it's really, really foolish things for you to be saying. I hope you're not teaching that to your kids, or your kids are believing that kind of stuff, because it's absolutely preposterous.
I'm guessing Larry's about 70 years old, and his kids are probably about 45 or 50 already. That's my guess, based on the comment that that you made.
I hope he's not a young father and teaching his kids that kind of garbage right now. But anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Aaron. But and we're gonna probably back up and talk about each one of these things. But keep going, because I think it gets even worse.
Yeah, there's another great big point. We are going to come back to the issue of NICS denials, because when you hear the actual rate, the actual conviction rate for NICS violations, it's gonna pull the entire wool off anybody's eyes as to the real purpose of the NICS system. But number 3, in section 1203 of this bill, should make your blood absolutely boil. This bill allows the federal government to deputize county prosecutors, state prosecutors to serve as assistant U.S. attorneys and bring all of these cases into federal court, where they can serve as assistant U.S. attorneys and prosecute you in federal freaking court. Not only that, it also allows them to deputize local cops. I grew up in Ocheyedan, Iowa. Well, actually, I can say we're brothers. We all
four did.
Ocheyedan, Iowa. Like, we had like 6 deputies in the entire sheriff's department. These people, they're just regular guys out there keeping people safe. This bill is going to weaponize every one of these officers, if they can, by making them attached to the BATF, and help local authorities now have federal jurisdiction to prosecute violations of the Violence Against Women Act. People keep asking, what's the name of the bill? We're telling you, the Violence Against Women Act. It's a very catchy name. After all, how could you be opposed to a bill that makes it a crime to carry out violence against a woman? But that's what they're calling it.
That's how they sell this stuff. When George Bush passed the Patriot Act, back in the old days, I think they did that because only patriots would oppose it. So they had to give it a name that made it sound like the patriots liked it. So they give this name something like the Violence Against Women's Act. And it's anything but.
It's the Tyranny Against America Act is a far better terminology for it. But
and of course, because it involves women and domestic violence is one of the context of this bill. A little flavoring for you. We're used to seeing bills that define what domestic arrangements are, right? Husband and wife, former ex-spouses, people have have a child in common, stuff like that. This bill, and again, this is Joni Ernst and Dianne Feinstein side by side pushing this crap. This bill specifically says wait for this. Nothing in this section may be construed to require sexual contact between two persons to have occurred to establish a relationship for this bill to be effective. It is terrible. And it goes on to say, persons who have been involved in a social relationship qualify under this section. So non-sexual contact with another adult in a social relationship puts you subject to this tyrannical garbage. I don't know how they define this stuff, but I have lots of social relationships. People I work with, people I see at church, people I see at the post office.
People I work out with. I mean,
this is so broad.
I used to work out with this girl in this classroom setting back in the day. I think she was kind of infatuated with me when I think about it. But I mean, that would classify as a social relationship at that point. I mean, it's literally opening the door to Pandora's box, to pave the way for any kind of person to get an order against anybody else. And now that person's guilty unless they can prove their own innocence.
We're going to break down some of the details more, but people are asking, just for a brief recap for those who are getting on late. This is the Violence Against Women Act. It's already passed the House, and now the Senate's going to roll their version out in a couple of days. It's being led by Dick Durbin and Dianne Feinstein, literally the worst two Democrats in the entire country, and the full support of Republican Joni Ernst from Iowa and Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, bipartisan gun control. It's going to change the definitions on who can be labeled a prohibited person and adding more misdemeanor crimes to that section. That's number one. Number two, it's going to have local law enforcement and local prosecutors deputized as feds to prosecute these cases. Number three, any NICS violations will now automatically generate a report to local law enforcement saying, go out there and investigate this guy. He failed his NICS check, when everyone knows 94% of NICS failures are false positives. Nothing in this is pro-gun. Nothing in this is pro-freedom. Yet, again, we have Republicans who are sponsoring this bill. This is what it does in a nutshell. And the thing is, it can only get worse from here because we haven't even got to the amendment process in committee or on the floor.
Well, we've seen this in state legislatures all across the country. What will happen is, if the radical left knows they don't quite have all the muscle they need to pass a gun control bill, they'll bring the weakest, most watered down, the easiest bill they possibly can to pass to the legislature. That's the one they bring forward. And they say, see, for all you gun owners out there who are concerned, it has all these carve outs. This is all fine here. This won't interrupt with your Second Amendment here, and here. And then if gun owners or if Republicans or rhinos sit back and go, you know what, this isn't so bad, we'll give them a little something and then they'll get off our backs. Well, the moment they get that bill into a committee room, the moment they get that thing onto the Senate floor, for example, well, then what happens? Right as they're about to pass it, some piece of crap, leftist piece of garbage stands up and goes, I want to add this amendment to the bill, please, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Senate President. And then they'll slap that amendment likely right on the bill. And all of a sudden, this bill that was a watered down, not so bad gun control bill just became one of the worst gun control bills that we've ever seen in the history of our country. We've watched gun control pass. We've seen it over the last 15 years in states like Massachusetts and Connecticut and other states. They use the same process. And now our U.S. Senate is in the exact same situation. They need to bring on some Republicans. They need to get people like Joni Ernst and Lisa Murkowski on board. That's exactly what they've done. And this bill, mark my words, will get far, far worse before it gets passed.
Let's talk about the NICS numbers real quick, because when you think about like the quality of the work that they're trying to do to protect women in violent situations, 94% of the NICS denials are false positives, okay? The numbers here from 2010, 76,000 people were stopped by those, but 76,000, only 44 of those were actually deemed as prosecutable, Okay. These are the people who are in charge of now sending reports to your federally deputized local county deputies now. Used to be your neighbors. Now they're feds. And they're supposed to now run out an investigation on you. But then in 2017, almost 110,000 people were denied by the NICS system. There were roughly 13,000 investigations and 12 prosecutions. That is 0.0009% of their denials were actually prosecutable. But yet, these are the people that are going to be in charge of verifying if you should have your guns taken away from you or not.
You see,
all
they're very
trying to do,
accurate.
all they're trying to do here is put pricks like the prosecutor who tried to put Kyle Rittenhouse in prison, or that evil woman Kim Gardner in St. Louis tried to put the McCloskeys in prison. They're trying to weaponize people like that, give them federal authority, a federal badge right here. I'm a G-man right here on their lapel, and say, put these people in prison. And they're trying to do it all across the country right now. We all watched the Rittenhouse trial. Think of that on steroids all across the country. That's exactly what this bill is going to do if it becomes law. It's a complete war against regular, everyday citizens, proud gun owners, weaponizing the courts, weaponizing the local law enforcement against all of us.
a lot of this, when we talk about these numbers, we talk about the NICS denials, the false positive rates. You know, a lot of people are sitting there, they're asking, rarely are people encouraged to ask themselves. I'm going to ask you to ask yourselves now. Ask yourselves if these are the actual numbers of the background check system, of all these hundreds of thousands of denials that get issued, and with minuscule 0.00 some percent that actually go to prosecution. The claims by the gun control crowd that this system somehow stops criminals from getting their hands on firearms is a total fabrication. And because this system fails its own purpose, you have to ask yourself the question, why does this system then exist? Why was it created in the first place? Who created it in the first place? And then what was their real intentions, since it doesn't do what it was supposedly set up to do in the first place? And I will tell you this straight up, and this is why we've been against all the NICS expansions. We've been against it at the federal level, at the state level. There's a reason why Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein have been pushing it at all these levels. This is why we've been stopping it at all the state levels. It's because this system is the system that they are going to use for gun confiscation on a nationwide scale. Period. End of paragraph. There is no other reason for it. It does not stop criminals. Just think of any recent mass killing in the last 15 years. You will usually find somebody who went through the NICS system to get the firearms in the first place. It does not stop them. It is the system they're building to try to flesh out, to use for gun confiscation. And that's why we oppose this stuff. Everybody's like, well, all right, if you're opposed to the background checks, then my gosh, I mean, what system do you propose to stop criminals from getting their hands on this stuff? It's very simple. When a criminal rapes some woman, instead of living for 35 years on death row or enjoying 3 hots and a cot, that dude needs to take a ride in an electric chair and pay the price so that justice can be dealt out. There is no threat of justice anymore in America. And so the criminals do it, and they increase and they increase. They do it more. They do it more often, and they do it on increasing scales. So
hell, half the time they don't even have to pay cash bail. I mean, that's what the Democrats are doing all across the country. All kinds of violent criminals,
reform,
rapists, like as you mentioned, armed robbery, all kinds of cases of violent arsonists. I mean, Ben's in Minnesota. He knows a thing or two about arson up there, right? I mean, violent thugs who carry out felony crimes against people and property. They get arrested. They get released. Hell, half the time they're arrested again the same night.
Yeah.
So justice is gone. Like you said, this is not about justice. This is not about trying to stop criminals. The people who are pushing this garbage, I'm just going to say this very clearly. The people pushing this garbage. They want this chaos. They want this violence. They want this anarchy, and try to push more and more Americans into saying, fine, I'll surrender my rights. I just want security. That's all this is about. They all know what they're doing in Washington, D.C., funded by George Soros. That's why it happened in 2020 under President Trump's administration. The left wanted chaos to serve as a reason to say, well, we have to have a new president. Well, they got it.
They created it.
They created it and they got it. And now they're going to try to finish this fight, registering every gun they possibly can, weaponizing cops against us, weaponizing prosecutors against us. It's all designed to come after the law-abiding gun owners, not the criminals out there.
Exactly. This stuff, I mean, I live 30 minutes away from Minneapolis. Nothing in any one of these bills will do a single thing to take a single gun out of the hand of a single gangbanger, thug. I mean, there are full-blown shootouts in the streets of Minneapolis consistently. Carjackings are up 600% this year in Minneapolis. Rape, murder, mayhem, it's out of control in Minneapolis, and everybody pretends it's not happening. The Democrats pretend it's not happening. This Violence Against Women's Act. Go ahead,
mostly peaceful carjackings, Ben. Come on.
Mostly peaceful carjackings. I guess if they let you grab your winter coat before they chuck you into the ditch, I guess that's a mostly peaceful carjacking. Look, this stuff is This stuff is only going to be used to torment and inflict tyranny on people like you and me. It's what it's all about. It's what it's all about. Punishing the Trump voters, punishing the Christians, the Europeans, punishing folks like us, criminals, gangbangers, thugs. You get a free ride, burn the cities, roast it to the ground. All of you over here, you're all getting thrown in jail. You're all going to have your guns confiscated. It's tyranny on a mass scale. That's what all of this stuff is about. And that's what we're trying to stop it. We have to stop it. So guys, I think on every one of the videos you guys are watching, there's a link right there. Please get involved, get on board, help us stop this. We have to stop the Republicans, I think, from caving to the Democrats. The left is going to be the left, but we cannot allow rhinos to bury our country on Joe Biden's behalf.
The fact, I mean, again, it just, I know I share I know everybody watching this shares this frustration that I have, but I mean, it's so angering to me, especially when people like, we're all from Iowa. I know the kind of people that went to the polls. Obviously, I didn't vote in Iowa in 2020, but I know the kind of people, I know a lot of people that actually went to the polls and voted against Teresa Greenfield. That's Greenfield, right, Aaron? Teresa Greenfield?
Yep.
They went there because they wanted to make sure that Greenfield wasn't the person that could sit there and work on these kinds of bills with people like Dick Durbin and Dianne Feinstein. And for people like Joni to take that trust that was given to her at the ballot box and then totally bastardize that and come back around and say, not only am I just doing exactly what Mayfield did, now I gave the entire Democrat Party the cover that they're looking for to ram this down and make it harder for all the other moderate Republicans. Because right now, if you're watching this, Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania, Rob Portman in Ohio, they have not signed on to this. You know, they're not part of this thing. But now when she and Tom Tillis, Richard Burr in North Carolina, now that Joni Ernst, the famous U.S. senator from Iowa, who's going to go to D.C. and make everybody squeal with some kind of sick delight, now that she's on the bill, it gives them the cover that they need to say, oh, what are you talking? I mean, Rob Portman can campaign or he's getting out now, but he can go to those local forums that he's still holding and say, what are you talking about? This is this Dianne Feinstein. No, I joined with Joni Ernst on the Violence Against Women Act. We want to make sure that people out there can't get their guns, especially when things are so hot between a couple. We all know somebody like that. You can hear this bullshit coming out of their mouths right now. And for Joni Ernst to betray the trust that was conferred that moment people across Iowa went into the ballot box and chose her over Teresa Greenfield, it's just like, I know what the Sons of Liberty would have done back in the 1700s if betrayals like this would have happened. We don't live in the 1770s. That's why we're encouraging everybody to do everything you can to be pushing back against this stuff, because so much is on the line for our kids and our grandkids. We can't let them take big swings like this, because if they swing this hard right now when they're needed so badly, what are they going to do next time? What are they going to do if there's a school shooting next week? Right after Christmas, what are they going to do? Bad stuff.
We got a lot of comments coming in, guys, about like, what do we do? How do we stop it? Well, simple. You have to call your U.S. senator and you have to call your U.S. congresswoman or man and tell them to vote no on this. The switchboard for the Capitol, for anyone here, and we're pinning it up all over the place, 202-224-3121. Doesn't matter if they're red or blue, call them and tell them absolutely not. I would just say that the talking points for you, if you get someone on the phone, would just be absolutely not. This isn't just the door creaking open for you to put in more gun control. This is a bay door rolled up. This is a bay door for opportunity for them to come in and punish gun owners for no reason other than they don't like us telling them no. This is the opportunity to redefine what is a punishable crime, to lose your gun rights down to a misdemeanor. I mean, when you get these people on the phone, tell them absolutely not. This is not happening. Again, the phone number here is 202-224-3121. Someone said I said that wrong. Am I saying that wrong, Ben?
202-224-3121. You're right.
3121.
I hope that's
hey,
right.
Everybody, when you dial that phone number, as soon as you hang up and your blood settles down a little bit, because I always get a little bit agitated when I call them, save that phone number in your phone. So that way, every time we tell you to call them, it's there and you have it. Call them throughout the week. Don't wait for us to tell you what's going on. Give them a call. Tell them no to resist gun control. Save our country.
I know for a lot of people who are watching, maybe it's, you're from Iowa like we were originally. Maybe you're from Missouri, from Wyoming, you're from Ohio, you're from, I would say Minnesota, but parts of Georgia. These are very godly areas of the country. They're very peaceful. They used to
Bible
be
Belt, Bible
peaceful.
thumping.
It's the Bible Belt. We're used to being
Bitter clingers.
We're used to being respectful. We're used to being deferential to those who are in some sort of position of power. Like, I'm just going to tell you, we're not fomenting rebellion. We're not J6 in this video here, but the time to be nice to these people is about freaking gone. There is no more need to be nice. There's no more need to be super apologetic or, geez, I'm so sorry for calling. If it please the crown, sir, please, if you could possibly, please not vote for this bill. They have to be met at the airport with picket signs. They have to have their neighborhoods lit drop. They have to realize, the Republicans, all of them, the Republicans, though, especially, have to realize this is a culture war, by God, and we expect you to fight. And if you're not, we will find somebody else who will. So one of our lifetime members in Iowa called Joni Ernst's office this morning, got some condescending ass on the phone, some 18-year-old pimply-faced kid. And he's like, well, Joni Ernst has always supported the Second Amendment. The same old talking points they always give. And this friend of mine just lost it and said, who do you think you're talking to, son? She works for me. So take that kind of approach. These are your employees. They want you to help put them in power. Make them, by gosh, earn it right now. It's time to stop being Iowa nice, Missouri nice, Wyoming nice, Ohio nice. It's not getting us anywhere. It's time to stop that.
Like, I mean, it always just like begs the question: if she's doing this, what is she not doing? What pro-gun bills has Joni Ernst sponsored, like taken a lead role and introduced into the U.S. Senate as a U.S. senator? What has she done to make gun grabbers squeal? She's making gun rights people scream in pain right now. What has she done ever in the U.S. Senate to make gun grabbers squeal? Nothing. Not a freaking thing. I'm not even going to ask for Aaron to try to tease something up there. Nothing.
Zero.
So you know what? You could have got zero gun rights bills and gun control bills out of Teresa Greenfield. So you're literally getting the same work product right now. And because don't forget, this is the same Joni Ernst who just a couple of weeks ago voted to suspend the filibuster.
Yep.
She voted to suspend the filibuster, that precious procedural tool that is safeguarding so much right now. Because if they could suspend it for 5 minutes on gun control, Kamala Harris would jump right in there and break that tie, that 50-50 tie, and we would have AR-15 bans. We would have high-capacity magazine restrictions. We'd have everything. We'd have every gun control bill you can think of.
And
Joni
so
Ernst
much more.
did all those things. What in the hell is she doing for gun rights? Nothing.
I mean, you keep hearing the name
Trash
Joni Ernst. Don't forget, Joni Ernst and Murkowski are the two who are publicly unveiling the bill with Dianne
Right.
Feinstein. We might see dozens of Republican
Right.
senators add their name as co-sponsors to this bill in the days after this bill actually gets unveiled in the next couple of days, or perhaps in the next week or so. So if you're in Ohio, you could almost bet your bottom dollar Rob Portman cannot wait to shiv you in the rib
Yeah.
cage. John Barrasso in Wyoming, do it in a heartbeat. Roy Blunt in Missouri, it's almost a guarantee if he does not hear from gun owners, he will add his name to this bill. So please don't think that you're
Tom
kind of,
Tillis, Richard Burr.
right. So
Pat
don't
Toomey,
think
all
that you're
these
kind of
people.
off the hook on this action if you're not from Iowa, for example, or Alaska. This is going to go broad. It's going to be a very juicy thing for the Republicans to do. The Democrats love it because they get bipartisan cover at election time. And like you said, Chris, I mean, Iowa gun owners spend a fortune on this issue, helping to expose Teresa Greenfield's love of red flags just 14 months ago. The same Republicans who all swore to us in 2020 they were going to oppose gun control, they're now lining up to support this bill, complete with red flags on steroids. So contact your senators, folks, today. Leave them a voicemail. Call them on the weekend. Call them again on Sunday. Call them again on Monday. This has to get really hot, really fast to shut this down.
Yeah. I think another thing that you talked about for just a second there could be fleshed out a little bit more. When you talked about it's time to stop being Iowa nice, Minnesota nice, all these different things. All we're asking people to do is not adopt the morals of the left, but these tactics of pushing back hard, aggressively against politicians. It's what the Democrats, it's what the left has done for decades now. And they beat not only the church into the background, they beat the politicians in the background, they beat the schools. They've conquered all these different areas of the American life that up until 50 years ago made America the greatest country on the planet. They've taken over all these things, and they've done it with some of these tactics. So, folks, yeah, it's time to stop being like, oh, I called them up, I respectfully said my piece, and that's it. What they do from here is on that bull crap. You got to do it again tomorrow. You got to do it again this afternoon. If you get some pipsqueak on the phone, because I know a lot of these people, I've been on Capitol Hill, I've been in countless state legislatures. I know the type of people that serve as gatekeepers to the politicians they serve. You got to ask for somebody up higher, or you got to go to local issue, like local eggs and issues sort of a thing, and get in front of their faces, because it's not. If you play by the 1995 rules in 2021, we're going to get our clocks cleaned. We have been getting our clocks cleaned, and I don't know about you, but when I think about the world that my kids and my grandkids are going to live in, I'm willing to do far. I'm willing for my comfort zone to take a back seat as I do things that are more and more uncomfortable in order to make sure that they don't have to do those things. I mean, I don't want my kids to lose. They're going to lose. They've lost a lot compared to the America that I grew up in. But I don't want them to have to be and act and take the actions that I take today. I don't want to have to do worse than that when they're older. They didn't earn this. They don't deserve this. This is on us. We say this all the time here on all the state pages that you're watching this on right now, but this is on us. And we have to fight back, and fight back hard, and fight back without apology, and fight back without second guessing ourselves. That's one of the things that these politicians excel at, is they get you on the phone and they start saying stuff like, oh, well, we've had some sort of this domestic domestic violence misdemeanor deprivation stuff on the books for some years now. The fact that we want to weaponize and federalize the state law enforcement entities and agencies all across America, don't worry about that. This is just a mild expansion of federal police powers. No, no, push back hard.
Yeah, this is all the same gaslighting bullshit that we've been forced to live under for the last, well, very clearly the last 2 years, but many years before that. And these people need to be, their feet need to be held to the fire. They need to be told no. And really, it's like what Chris said is 100% true. We've always been the nice people, right? That's what, we always put the word law abiding in front of gun owners. We're pissed off, good and pissed off. And there's some people watching this video and more who will watch it in the future who've probably never called a legislator in their life.
Right.
The first time I did, it made me uncomfortable, frankly, because, they know things and I don't know many things, and they have all the details. No, you don't need all of those things. You need to tell them to shut the hell up, do their job. Stop pushing this crap. If you vote for this stuff, you're going to be in big trouble at election time. Stop screwing over my children's future. Stop screwing over my grandchildren's future. I mean, when you stop and think for a moment about somebody like Joni Ernst, for the last 2 years, millions and millions of us have sat here enraged at what's going on in the world. And constantly angry at the radical left, at the rhino right, at the shutdowns, at the mandates, at the whole list of it, the gun control, the anti-patriotism, the people who are chucking cinder blocks on top of our police officers,
sending
from the
FBI
overpasses.
agents. Sending FBI agents into your local school board meetings because people are ticked off that they're teaching your kids to be little racists, and they're cramming
weaponizing the Department of Justice to go after parents who are ticked off that their kids are being taught total socialist, communist garbage trash in their schools. We've watched this and watched this and watched this, and many of us would do anything to make this stop. But here you have people like Joni Ernst, who clearly, and Lisa Murkowski, and there will be more, who are clearly sitting there at night not thinking those thoughts. They don't think like you and me. Their concerns are not our concerns. The things that rend our guts at night when we watch what's happening in our country doesn't seem to bother some of these people. And that's why, even if you've never done it before, pick up that phone. Make that phone call. You don't have to be an orator, okay? You don't have to be John Adams. You don't have to be those people. You just have to be able to say, hell no. You tell her no. That's what you have to do. It has to be done now, and it has to be done every single day going forward until our country turns the corner and we can get past this stuff and put communism in the grave where it belongs.
All right, folks, I know it's Friday afternoon, a lot going on right now. Make your phone calls today. There's a link in the video. If you can donate $10, donate $100, whatever you can do, help us push back on this. There's a link for that now. Take action, share the video, make your phone calls. If you can donate. We'll keep you guys informed. Major action is coming from us next week with emails to your senators. We haven't had time for that yet today. It's going to happen very shortly. Don't forget, they're counting on all of us kind of just saying, you know what? It's Christmas.
Yeah.
Only a couple days away. I ain't got time for this. I'm trying to take care of my kids. They're counting on that. That's why it's being unveiled right now in the week before Christmas. Bust past that. Make the phone calls happen. Share the video. Make a donation, and we'll keep you guys informed as always.
Thanks a lot, guys, and have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yep.